Good evening and welcome to the August 7th meeting of the Board of Selectmen. Everybody to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Again, good evening and welcome to those that have tuned in or are here physically. This is a pulled-up meeting. Typically, we would have met next week and then the final week of the month. And it just things worked out that we have a workshop after tonight's meeting, so we put a small business agenda together, and we'll quickly go through most of that, and then the board will retire to a workshop on 2019 goals. We have no public hearings tonight, no announcements. Any announcements from the board? Additions or deletions to the agenda, I think we're all set, right? No appointments. Any public comment? Anybody that would like to speak that's not on the agenda? Correspondence. The treasurer's report is here if anybody's interested in it. And the motor vehicle and excise tax reports as well. And there's also correspondence on a company called Firehouse Subs. Public Safety Foundation awarded a grant to the Waterboro Fire Department for the purchase of Jaws of Life, and I think there might be some discussion later in that, although Matt's not here tonight, right? So, unless you're going to say something about it. Reports and staff initiatives. Selectmen's reports. Gordon, anything?
Just attended a meeting for the Community Center Steering Committee Monday night. It's moving along. I have a site visit with another committee member on next Monday at 1:30 in South Portland to look at their community facilities. And in the meantime, we're drawing up lists of potential sites and components that we think people would like to see within a community center establishment, and then making plans for a presentation before the Board of Selectmen sometime. It looks like right now, sometime in November, to bring the whole board up to speed on what actually is going on. But I only mention this so that we keep it, up on the surface in our minds, that, for anybody that has any public comment can, certainly get a hold of the town administrator or anybody on that committee, which Tim Neal chairs. So,
Okay.
okay.
Anything else, Gordon?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Ted, anything?
Not at this time, no.
Tim?
Well, as Gordon mentioned, we had a meeting last night at the steering committee, and with a lot of help from Gary, we developed a timeline that should bring us back in early winter with our first report for the selectmen. That's it.
Dwayne, anything?
I got nothing.
The only thing that I'll mention is we did have a workshop last week with some of the folks that were on the Charter Commission, and we brought in Natalie, and we'll have some of that discussion later in this agenda. But Gary, anything?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Since you had that document on the Jaws of Life, that public service announcement was done by the chief on August 2nd, and some question of why we didn't advertise that sooner. They actually asked us to hold it until some of the paperwork was done, I guess, but some people saw this on Facebook and the website, and I didn't inform you, and I do apologize for that. But this is a very generous grant, $24,000 and change for a cordless Jaws of Life, which is going to be extremely handy. This is our second functional unit. Quite often we ask for mutual aid to have that second unit there because sometimes with bad accidents you need a second Jaws to get the people out of the vehicle. So this will be great that we will have this, and I think probably the next time Matt is before us here, he's on vacation this week, we can talk more about that. We probably won't have it for quite some time, so it's not like we could do a show and tell this evening. And let's see, moving on to recycling. It's getting better. Our last load for recycling was down to a 1% contamination. The one before that was a 10%, but both of those are well under the 30+% we had a few weeks ago. Concerning a town planner vacancy, we've advertised for that position some time ago. Today was the, I guess you'd say, a soft application deadline. We asked for applications today. We don't have very many. I'll be talking with Tim and Dennis about that. They've volunteered to be on the interview committee. We've got to decide whether we go forward with interviews or try and collect some more. This weekend, folks should be alerted to more bikes on the West Road through to South Waterboro Road to Lyman. There's a bike race, the MS-150, coming through Waterboro Sunday most of the time. Most of that will be on Sunday and not Saturday. The bid for the fire station roof, the insulated steel roof, has gone out. We've sent it to 17 roofing contractors, and it's been advertised in the usual fashion. Sealed bids are due by 5 o'clock Friday, August 17. It will be opened at noon on Monday the 20th. We understand that we're not open that day, but certainly the doors will be open just before that in case anybody wants to attend the bid opening. And we continue to talk with DOT, with David Benton and myself, and Owens McCullough from Sebago Technics about Old Alfred Road paving. The news from DOT is not good money-wise. There's not any money this paving season or next spring. We're hoping for monies for the heavy bearing coat, the 1.5 to 2 inch layer next summer. And David and I were talking today about we really need to make a decision on doing the heavy shim and regain the slope of that road and possibly do the shoulders this fall. And something that just happened a little while ago, ballot questions for the board need to be done by September 7th and submitted. So we need to get as much work as we can get done on what Natalie sent us. It's before you tonight in the charter. And then we have August 28th. And then if we need, we could have September 4th as an additional meeting to finalize language for that question. And that's it from me. Thank you.
The 7th is, from a timing perspective, is...
The ballots have to be ordered by September 7th, right?
Okay, any questions, comments? Okay, new business, ATV organization in town, I think, has approached...
You don't want to do it.
Did I? Oh, I'm sorry. Where are we? Oh, Blues Festival wrap-up.
Could you?
I almost missed you, Tom.
Gave you a t-shirt, too.
Gave me a t-shirt and everything.
Take his t-shirt back.
Sure, come on up. I'll answer any questions you guys have, but I'd like to talk for just a couple minutes if I could. I'd first like to thank all the selectmen and our town administrator, Gary. I understand when you walk up and ask for an alcohol permit and to have 300 or 400 people in the park, I know it's not an easy thing, and I want to thank you all for having faith in us, and we really appreciate it. From the rec department, I'd like to thank Lisa, to my right, for all her hard work. It wouldn't have been done without her. To Mike Christie and Mike Simons for helping build the snack shack and working in it during the festival. I'd like to thank Dave Benton and the DPW department for their work with the grounds and the fencing, and they've done a whole lot of other things. I'd like to thank Pete Cody, Mayor Pete, for building the snack shack and designing it. He saved thousands of dollars with the work he did. Dave Lowe, to my left, for all his work with the bands. Big thank you to you and all your help. The Waterboro Fire Department and the York County Sheriff's Department, they were there in case we needed them. Thank God we didn't. To all the other volunteers that made this event happen, thank you so much for your hard work. A special thank you to our sponsors who stepped up and believed in us. They donated a lot of money to make this happen. And we are so pleased the way that it went. The bands we talked to who tour the whole country and the world said usually it takes 2 or 3 years to start making money and have a successful event. And we actually made a few bucks. And I'm just proud of the job that everybody did. And hopefully what you guys heard was a good job also.
Yes, amen.
So we'll answer any questions you'd like to ask. And
Crowd size?
crowd size, I actually counted. I think it peaked out between 285 and 300.
And with that, we had severe weather warnings, extreme heat, so we figured that probably would have been more like 5, which we were only hoping for 3, but would have been more like 5, I believe, if it had not been so hot and there had not been a 65% chance of thunderstorms.
Yeah,
So you say-
towards the end, the thunderstorm triangle on the map was almost,
It was pretty close. I couldn't
I
believe it.
used up all my please gods. I better be careful for the rest of the year.
We did cut off 12 minutes early because of that. When that first bolt of lightning came, it's like, okay, that's it.
So you broke even and then some.
Yeah, I think we profited a couple $1,000s. We also bought a brand new barbecue that we now own. We own all the fencing now. We own about 4 or 5 pop-up tents that all came out of this, and I still believe we came out with a couple $1,000s ahead for the park fund. Anything else?
the trailer and all of that was rented?
The stage.
The stage was rented.
Stage and sound, all one company, Music
They
Works.
did a great job too.
Yeah.
Those guys were awesome.
Now, you told me that Patrick and the guys from Saco River were there to, did they record this thing? or-
Yep. It's they did a really fantastic job on the video, close-ups on the on the guitar, what you would expect from any professional production. And we've got the sound off of the directly off the board, and I sent that up to them, and they've merged it together. So I'll be posting that stuff pretty soon. But it is awesome.
Good.
Really awesome. And we've got permission from Paul Nelson to use his, so not a problem there with any copyright stuff or anything.
And some of the feedback I did put out in an all-town email, let us know if you were there, or let us know comments on your programming. And not only did I get several from just the general public and other employees, other town employees saying kudos and this was great, but also, before I was even in the office on Monday morning, 3 of the sponsors had emailed me and said, count me in for next year. That was fantastic.
Good.
They were really amazed at professionalism, seeing it was our first time out.
Good job.
Eric?
What would you do different next year?
We're going to adjust. I think a giant tent. I think the weather, we're going to look for a sponsor we used to use for our FET when we did the fishing derby in Sanford. They used to donate tents, so hopefully we can bring them on as a sponsor and maybe get a tent over the alcohol where they have the bar set up, and maybe over the basketball court, so there'll be more shade.
And possibly a later start and end time as well to get out of that, very, very midday. So maybe start it at 2 and go to 8:30, something like that. So you're into a little cooler period of the day. So.
I think a few more staff. We really weren't sure how many we needed. We were able to do everything, but the staff we had was overworked. So I think some more volunteers or staff we needed. Signage. People having trouble finding the park. And we never thought of this, and the band said, I guess one of the bands had a little trouble too, but put up signs and, showing them where the park is.
Really minor adjustments. I think we pretty much nailed it the first time out, which is amazing.
But always room for improvement, and we realize that.
Sure. Little things. But
It didn't look like a freshman layout there. It looked like you've been doing it for quite a while.
yeah, we've heard from several people who've done some of these and been to a bunch, played it a bunch, and they couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
So for the first time, they didn't see anything that could have been done different. So.
When-
But we've got those few tweaks, and they're pretty minor.
when we were talking about asking you guys for the alcohol permit, and in the beginning I was against it. And when we were really discussing it, I said, if this doesn't go A1, top notch, I'm not going to apply for it. And we made sure it happened.
Next year, not going to apply
This-
for it again.
When I asked for it this year,
Oh.
I said to them, we're not going to, just do it halfway. If we're going to ask for all this stuff, we want to make sure it's A1. And Rustic Taps, they did a great job. They were very professional, and I think it went great.
Yeah, for those that didn't see it, they had a beautiful, 1940s or 50s truck. It was the tap room, and nicely dressed professional staff, and big 50-gallon whiskey barrels with tabletops on them with their name on it, and it looked really nice.
And everyone on the way out, I was at the exit, every single person on the way out was saying, thank you so much for bringing this to Waterboro. We'll be here next year. Do it again next year.
People
So
came
this
from
was-
New York.
Yeah, we were pretty much
just went
walking
from
on
there.
air at the end, just because of the compliments, which was great.
I think one thing that you need to do next year is wear a hat.
I was just about done by the end of the day.
You look like a tomato.
My wife yelled at me, too. I agree. Well, with the
Yeah,
blessing...
Dave's got a bunch of those, those rock and roll hats.
Sorry.
You look good with one of those little Fender
That's your
hats.
event thing. This year he had T-shirts, maybe next year he can have those hats.
I might take up the guitar and teach Dave a lesson.
Well, I know that anyone that's talked to me about it has had only great things to say about it, and certainly there was a whole bunch of things on social media about it, so I think it's something to be proud of, and it's a good start to bringing community together here in town, so.
Thank you.
Well, with your blessing, I'd like to announce York County Blues Fest #2 will be August 24th, 2019. Hope to see you all there.
August 24th, huh? So a month later, and
Let us get through camp, we're a little less busy then.
Be a little cooler too, potentially.
Yes.
yeah, probably no thunderstorms.
Thank you very
All
much.
right, thanks, guys. And sorry I almost missed you on the agenda. All right, ATV Club. Back on the road again. Back on the road again.
So good evening, Todd Abbott, president of the Ospey Mountain ATVers. About 2 years ago, we had a landowner that closed his land. We had asked for permission to run Daring Ridge Road, ran it. Last year, we lost that permission from the town. So what had come out of that meeting was for us to go to Department of Transportation and apply to the Department of Transportation for a ATV access route. We have done that. We have also received the response from the Maine Department of Transportation. Maine Department of Transportation feels that the traffic count on Townhouse Road and some of the blind corners that are on Townhouse Road are an issue, and they felt that that would not be a safe place to put ATVs due to the traffic count, stoplight, blind corners, and in my talking to the engineer who went out and looked at it, I said, well, we do have a trail that kind of bumps down into East Shore Road. If we were to come out onto East Shore Road and only have to run, say Townhouse Road from East Shore Road to the intersection, he said, well, the intersection is really kind of an issue too. So that was their feeling. Whether or not the town can lean on them or not, I am not sure. But the state's recommendation was no for that road. So, in a sense, since that has failed, and we did have information about that prior to Old Home Days this year, so we spent quite a bit of time at Old Home Days informing the public that we were going to be coming back to the town and working on our public right-of-way ordinance that we had been drafting 2 years ago. So, 2 years, we're back. Okay, this is the original ordinance of where we had ended. I had sent Gary an email and asked for Gary to send that off to you guys or at least have a copy.
They do.
They do. So the only thing is where we had left off, I believe we kind of had a few roads that we had to add to the very back section of that. A couple of things. Obviously, the people on Deering Ridge Road, the 13 that were against it, they felt they were kind of being picked on because of one road. We only had that one road. And basically, if you go back to those meetings, it wasn't necessarily about the ATVs on the road. It was the fact that vehicles travel too fast on the road and that ATVs would create an additional hazard. Since then, I found out that in Greenville, they had an issue prior. They have gotten a trail that is opened up there. They have an access route. And once the ATV club got a trail around and didn't no longer need the access route, the town of Greenville wants them to keep the ATV trail there because it reduces the speed of vehicles on that road. So one upside is it will possibly slow vehicles down. But directly addressing the issue of, Deering Ridge Road people feeling picked on, I guess we've also added some additional roads to that. The main traffic flow that we have, Waterboro sits right directly in the middle of three other clubs, two other clubs. I take that back, three. Sanford is now a club. So we come from Sanford, the double pole line comes into Waterboro. We have everything from Route 35 down in Hollis, Dayton, down that way. That trail system comes into our trail system, about where Ed's Grove, a Town Line Family Restaurant is. And then on the other end of the town, up by Chadbourne Ridge Road, Carthage LaBoy's property, Hollis ATV Club abuts that. Between all of those clubs, there's over 100 miles of used to be interconnecting trail system. Waterboro is now the break, has been the break for 2 years. We continually see ATVs on the side of the road. I've talked to the sheriff's department about it. Their feeling is if they're not, driving too fast and being erratic, that they're not going to be pulling people over. Whether or not they'll state that to you guys or not, I am unsure, right? But I can tell you from witnessing more and more ATVs on the side of the road, that's obviously what's happening, right? Is that nobody's giving these people tickets. And our goal as the ATV club is to make sure that we're providing legal access for these people to be able to ride and enjoy the community that we have here and enjoy the trail systems that we have. So I think on the plan that you guys have, the last one, we had Ossipee Hill Road to the intersection of McLucas Road. We have Ossipee Hill Road west from McLucas Road to the trailhead of the old Boy Scout Road, which ironically I think we're talking about two roads. So one of those roads is McLucas Road. The secondary road would be from the old Boy Scout Road, which is on Ossipee Hill Road, down to this intersection. We're also requesting access from McLucas Road the entire length, which in a way 2 years has actually been good for us because I think the town has seen some information that might make some of those roads town roads, right? Ross Corner Road, Scooter Way, Middle Road. All of these roads have now, we know we own, right? Deering Ridge Road to the east of Joseph Way, we had it all the way to Bennett Hill Road. We do have access directly across the street from Edith Huey Road. When we had asked to Bennett Hill Road, and that's what we had done that first preliminary year, that 1 month, that seemed to work fairly well from our perspective. We had very little complaints until the beginning of that year when we had surveys sent out, and it didn't come back the way that I think anybody really planned on. So ultimately, if we're going for Deering Ridge Road again, I think we can get away with Edith Huey Road. One person that was here also mentioned that they would be willing to give us permission to come up from the single pole line to Deering Ridge Road, which would cut off another section of that trail, right? So from Edith Huey Road to the single pole line is maybe, what, a quarter of a mile, between a quarter and 3/4 of a mile. So we could shorten that distance up even more so than from Edith Huey Road. Little Ossipee Landing Road is one that we are requesting. Chadbourne Ridge Road, from the designated parking area that we have on top of Chadbourne Ridge Road down to the intersection of Route 5. And I have added here, which you guys will have to write on your paperwork there, Clark's Bridge Road, Middle Road, Blueberry Road, and Ross Corner Road. And I guess ultimately the Clark's Bridge Road, Middle Road, Chadbourne Ridge Road, Clark's Bridge Road, Middle Road will alleviate, I can't tell you what the percentage, but it will alleviate some of the traffic that is coming up off from Chadbourne Ridge Road, so that now all of the traffic that's trying to find their way down to East Waterboro or down into the rest of our trail system, they now have two options. They can either come down towards the Lyman area, or they could stay up towards North Waterboro, run Chadbourne, Clark's Bridge, take a left on Middle Road, and then they can connect to either Ross Corner Road or the double pole line. So I guess we're back at looking at this as trying to get this accepted as an ordinance. How you guys want to go about doing it, that's up to you, right? I mean, we're here presenting the fact that we've struck out again on all faces, and we'd like to have some help from you guys. I think it's an asset to the community. There's a lot of businesses that do benefit currently from the ATV usage that happens in the town of Waterboro. And as things get tighter in a community that is growing fairly rapidly, there is something to be said for helping us to protect what we have, right? We just got back from a ride, and the town we were in was in Byron, and we rode on a lot of their roads, some of which were dirt, similar to, say, Blueberry Road, Ross Corner Road, Bennett Hill Road, very similar to that. Those are considered an ATV access route. They had different speed limits associated with each access route. So some roads had a 35-mile-an-hour speed limit on them. Some roads had 25 miles an hour, and some even had 15 miles an hour. So as you come into, say, a more residential area, the speed of those ATVs slowed down, and now you're seeing signs that say 15 miles an hour. So I guess that's where we're at. I feel that what we had originally drafted for the ordinance is written fairly well. The only thing that we had, when we had left off about a year and a half ago, I think we had we're looking at other roads and which roads we had to add and try to alleviate some of that major traffic that's happening on Just Deering Ridge Road. So.
Comments?
On the Little Ossipee Landing Road from the end of the road to the Bernard Way, are you talking about the end of the road? Are you talking away from New Dam Road?
So I guess to some extent, thinking about this, I think what you have to do is you have to use what we were trying to do is there's a trail that goes along the side of the road from Ossipee Landing up to Bernard Way. It kind of runs in behind a couple, might be a relative of yours, I'm not sure, but there's a trail that kind of goes through that property and connects to Bernard Way. But ultimately, what we really would need to have permission, I'm not sure what Ossipee Landing is, but if it's more than 1,500 feet deep, we would need permission for Ossipee Landing as well.
It's Bernard Way. If you turn off of New Dam onto Little Ossipee Landing and then take a right on Bernard Way, where's the access? Because you got houses sitting right there. Or is
so if you were to come from the trail side, or say you turn directly in from New Dam Road,
Yep.
There's a trail right directly on your right. And Bernard Way might not have supposed to have been Bernard Way, it should have been Bernard Heights. It's the new development, the old Huff Lane
Are you talking before you get to Ospey?
where the S-turns are.
Okay,
Right.
all right.
So basically, when you're at the back of the Ossipee Landing, and Ossipee Landing is technically Old Portland Road. It's the old Portland Road, right? That goes out and it connects into
Right.
Carthage LeBoy's property.
Yep.
So if the distance between the end of the pavement on Ossipee Landing and New Dam Road is more than 1,500 feet, then we need to ask permission to use that as well. Everybody's using it. Doesn't, you know what I mean? It's more the fact that we're trying to be proactive. So some of these areas that people are using, we're asking for, right? And in asking for that, we can go put up signs. So if Ossipee Landing is a 15-mile-an-hour access route, we post that as a 15-mile-an-hour access route, right? So you're not coming into a full development and
Right.
having people come out of there at 35 miles an hour, right? So that's one of my reasons for bringing up the different speeds that you can apply to access routes. And I think that you're going to kind of have to go and look at each one of the roads kind of like a road-by-road basis and establish what we feel is going to be the safest way to do that. I can tell you that when you ride around the state of Maine in different areas and you're riding down the road, it's kind of cool to meet another ATV, and we're all giving hand signals telling how many people are coming, how many we're the last guy, and the cars just keep on flying by you, you know. But it's kind of like the bikers riding down the road. Everybody waves to everybody, right? It's a community, right? And as a general rule, our community is a fairly strong community, and we look out for what rights we have. And I think that we're entering into an era that everybody who enjoys doing anything outside has to kind of look out for each other. We no longer can be the snowboarder fighting the skiers. We're all trying for the same thing, and we all need to share what we have, right? So
should the wording in this be, instead of Bernard Way, should it be Bernard Heights?
I think it should be Bernard Heights,
Because you're talking behind the houses that are there,
right?
except for at the end of the pavement.
Right, when you get to the end, when you come out right to New Dam Road, there's a trail that runs, I'm pretty sure it's a Tonelli, isn't it? We run beside their house, out around their
There's one
house.
on either side of the end of the road.
That's right, exactly. So we go through one of their yards to get out back.
Okay.
So really, I'm not sure where that Bernard is, to be honest with you. But my understanding was that it was Bernard Heights,
All right.
which is the next development, which is closer to it.
Bernard Way, when you turn off a New Dam onto Little Ospey,
Yeah.
where the mailboxes are, just before that, there's a road there. That right-hand turn is Bernard Way. Halfway around that loop, it changes to Renee Circle.
Okay,
But if you go down Bernard Way, there's a house right there.
yeah,
So you're talking about behind that, where
right.
the end of the S-turn is before
Right,
you
we're
get
not
to-
looking to create any additional trails
Yeah.
in that area.
Yeah.
We're just trying to make what's already being
Yeah.
used.
No, that's why I'm saying that the wording should be, it should say Bernard Heights instead of Bernard Way.
Correct. I would agree with you if that is
Okay.
true. Yeah.
Any other questions, comments?
I'd like to at least hear from the voters before we move ahead with this. Maybe just an advisory vote to see how the community feels about it. Because, I mean, you guys are pro, and, you know, just talking within the room,
Right.
I don't think we're getting a good feel.
Well, and I think ultimately that's what happened the last time is that, you know, I mean, and it's what politics is about, right? It's a squeaky wheel, right? So we had a survey that got sent out to everybody that was anti, so all the anti people show up, right? Every time we want something, we show up and we have people that want stuff, right? I mean, it goes both ways, right? I think ultimately, you know, not to get back to the 2020 thing, but you have a community that is a recreational community. The more and more recreation that gets lost, the further away from a recreational community you're going to have.
This is a big election coming up, though, and that would take out, you know, filling a room with people that are against you guys and just get an impartial vote on, do you support ATVs using town roads? just a simple question, not weighed one way or the other, just a yes or no.
Yeah.
Take that as an advisory, and we could take it from there.
I think, you know, I mean, there's got to be a process here, right? And it's not going to be, and I think the last thing that we need to do is to flip this on or off overnight. So, you know, I guess I look at this as, okay, you guys are now back to the table, right? You can wordsmith this all you want until we get 2 or 3 public hearings where people are going to have some input. Or somebody might say, well, if you want to get off from the road, you can use my land for 200 feet and then come back onto the road. I mean, there's going to be all of those kind of things. So this is going to be a bit dynamic, right? So I guess my vision, and I'm not opposed to having some straw man vote, which is probably a non-binding vote, but I think you need to have enough public hearings to scrub this thing down to say, here's the map, and this is how it's going to affect you, right? I'm either coming by your house or I'm not coming by your house, right? If somebody wants to come to the public hearing.
Right. Technically speaking, this ordinance essentially puts ATVs beside everybody's house, which is already happening anyway, right? Because your next door neighbor who owns an ATV, you know what? He's lived there forever. He's going to ride his ATV to go connect to the trail. And more than likely, he's going to, if he even gets pulled over, he's just going to get a, you know, that's all right. Just stay slow,
one is
you know?
different than 50 on the day.
Oh, absolutely. Right. So access routes.
I guess what I'm trying to get to is that, you know, we need to shake this all out. And it's going to take a couple of public meetings, right, or public hearings, so that we can invite whomever,
Absolutely.
okay?
We're just
and for people to say yay, nay, whatever the case may be. And then I think you go back and you refine the ordinance to say, okay, we got to change this, we got to add this, or we got to modify this. Then I think there's a decision that we either make. We either take it to the people as a vote of the townspeople, which a lot of municipalities do,
right.
right?
Well, quite honestly, we could do that with a petition.
You could do that with a petition, or we can do it as a board.
So
right?
and this might be me personally, because I'm the guy that's always standing up here speaking for all the ATV people in the community, right? And I ride very little, but do a lot of trail work and, you know, speak for the club. But a little bit of my frustration here is that, you know, we had a problem, we had a solution. Solution worked out great from my perspective and from what Gary had heard from the year before. And then we kind of, no, we can't do that anymore. But we can do this. So we send off the paperwork to the state. Oh yeah, let's let the state decide, right? So now we don't have to make the decision here. The state will decide for us. Well, the state isn't any better than the federal government in a sense, right? The deeper you get in the government, the harder and harder it is, right? 2 years ago, we should have been dealing with this ordinance because we've lost a year in waiting for the state of Maine to come back with an answer. So if a public hearing and 2 public hearings or 5 public hearings is what's going to make us have a decision, let's do it.
No, I just see that this is the process, right?
Yeah.
We're back to the table. Let's schedule a couple of public hearings, all right? We need a bigger room. We need to get a bigger room. The people that come to that meeting have to come from you folks going out and talking to landowners,
Right?
and us publicizing it and everything, and you have a session, right? You're going to get a feel one way or the other, whether or not it's pro or con or whatnot, or this is going to change or whatever. You have a couple of those sessions, and then you go back to the table and say, we need to fix and finalize the ordinance. Then there has to be a public hearing on the final wording of the ordinance, right?
Right.
And then it's either a vote of the board, or we take it to the vote of the people.
So do you guys want to come up with a timeline of which pieces you want to deal with first? Because it kind of sounds like the first thing is we got to find out if people are okay with ATVs using the road.
Well, I think what we need to make sure of is that that people know that we're starting a process there's going to be an ordinance proposed in the town to allow ATVs to use public ways. Okay? That's the start of this. And, you know, you've got whatever connections you all have is certain a breadth of how many people involved, right? But I can tell you, out of the 8,000 people in town, that's a small piece of the people that are aware of something needs to be done, right?
And the percentage of ATV people that live in the town of Waterboro compared to the people that use ATVs in the town of Waterboro is a very different number.
Right. And you
right?
got like, and I don't know if it's Tim's neighbor or not, but you've got neighbors
right
that shoot out onto the road and go to the trailhead or whatever the case may be, right? All over this town,
right
right? So there's a lot of stuff happening. There's people running up and down Deering Ridge Road, okay? I don't see a lot of them, but you know, I can roll the dice, and the next 3 trips I make, I'll see one every trip.
right now it's turned into Hollis's problem. So.
Anyway, I think, you know, let's set up a timeline and live to the timeline, and just say we need to air this out. And I think you need the sheriff's department, and you need you don't need both of them, but at least one of them.
Right. I mean, I think a lot of information came out of the warden's meeting. I mean, we had Ricky here from. I mean, he's the. You know, I mean, I can get Ricky here again. You know,
you need people to hear that a warden doesn't have time to chase some kid down the road, and he's not going to do it.
right.
So everybody can say they're riding on the road illegally. There's nothing anybody's going to do about it. I shouldn't say that, but.
Right.
I mean,
well, they got to catch them in the act, and when you have one warden that's covering all of York County or a good half of York County, he's not in Waterboro all the
he doesn't
time.
have time to check the amount of people that are fishing illegally on the lake,
Correct.
right? Let alone check out somebody that's driving down the road.
And I guess one of the things that I feel a little bit unfortunate about in that meeting that we did have a public hearing. We had some people that lived on Deering Ridge Road. One of the questions that we had asked them, the people of Deering Ridge Road, was, when we had permission, did it improve? As we were walking out, they were like, oh, it did improve. Right? So, you know, obviously the statement was held back here, but if ultimately it does work, right? I mean, the ATV club does have a little bit more pull with the wardens, you know. If we have a whole bunch of people running 50 miles an hour down a road, we can contact the warden. They have special duty money that they can apply for a certain area. Not to say that the town doesn't have that response. You know, you probably have some pull with the warden service as well. You probably have some pull with the 2 contract deputies too. So I think that I'm happy to do whatever we need to do to just finalize it. If there's a no, it's a no, and that's what it is, right? Which is the same thing that we tell landowners. We'd rather have you tell us no than tell us yes, oh yeah, maybe. So that goes on for a year, and now you're a year without figuring out what you're going to do because you're relying on the fact that a gentleman told you, oh yeah, well, you'll be able to go through here. So, you know, that's where we're at.
That's why I'd like to see it go to the voters.
Yep.
You know, because we can fill this room with people that are opposed to ATVs.
Right. But again, so this is the flip side of that, Tim. You have 8,000 people in the town of Waterboro. You have maybe 50 to 60 ATV registrants. We have over 110 members. We have people that park at our clubhouse that are not members. You know, on an average weekend, you know, there's 100 people, if not more than that run through our trail system. So your voting population, yeah, they're the ones that live here.
They live on the roads that you want to use, though.
Yeah, which is great, but they're making the decision for the economic development of the community. And the people that are bringing the money to the community are not necessarily voters in the town of Waterboro. So I guess that's the economic part of it that you can't solely rely on the voters. And, you know, I by no means do I want to take away the voters' right, but ultimately that needs to be thought about, right? Is how much money revenue stream flows into this community during the summertime? How much, you know,
That's the educational process.
Correct.
That's why when you have public hearings, you need, whether it's, and I don't know how many ATVs you think a day go to Town Line Deli? How many ATVs a day do you think go to Lakeside?
right?
How many?
The
a day
Sunoco
go
station
to
over in
Merrill's,
Hollis,
okay?
right?
That would be nice for people to understand that, you know, there's 200 ATVs that show up at my place of business,
Right.
you know, on a Saturday.
Dropping
or a
$20
Sunday.
at a minimum.
Right.
Right.
So that's the impact that they have, you know, and granted, everybody's going to look at those guys as being somewhat selfish in this, but, you know, that's the engine that runs the town, right, is the businesses. So, and I don't necessarily disagree with him. I think that, you know, maybe when this all comes down, it goes to the voters as a referendum vote instead of.
But I do think that you need a couple of public hearings at least.
Well, yeah, because the voters aren't going to realize that they're affecting, you know, 500 people, right? I mean, they're only affecting them right now, right? So,
Even if we've got
So if you look at
the fire station,
right.
pull the trucks out some evening.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
During your dissertation, I think you hit on a key factor, it was the map. People are going to say, does this impact me or doesn't it? I would like to see the club put a map together that shows the existing trail system that you already have approved, and then maybe in a different color, those areas that you're seeking additional permission for. So people can take and look at this and say, oh yeah, okay, this is going to go right by my house here, or it isn't, this is going to bypass.
Yeah.
And they're going to be able to see, they're going to be able to visualize, because if they're trying to read off this, they're trying to think, okay, where the hell is that, and where does it go, and I don't know where that street is.
right.
You know,
No, not
but-
everybody's aware of the trail system and where it is, for sure. So,
Plus, you could do that, and Dave could put it on the screen. You have the technology, right?
oh yeah,
Right.
yeah. I mean, we have the map to scale.
The current trail is already on the GIS.
GIS,
Yeah.
correct.
Really.
It would just be adding
The
to it.
proposed areas
Yeah,
should
yeah, that
be
works.
in a different
That's
color.
easy enough to do.
Visual aid.
The only thing that I would wonder is, so that's a good idea. The other thing that might be a good idea is that as we're going through there, like for instance, Ossipee Landing, maybe Ossipee Landing's blue, right? And Deering Ridge Road will be yellow because Deering Ridge Road's going to be 35 miles an hour, whereas Ossipee Landing's going to be 15 miles an hour. So that person that's looking at the map and seeing that ATVs are going to go by his house is going to realize, hey, they're not going to be flying past my house. They're going to be doing this. Or the people on Deering Ridge Road realize, hey, wait a minute, they're going to be doing
No matter
the
what
speed
you
limit.
do, there's going to be people flying by people's houses.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's
There
right.
is the.
But they
there
do
is
that
the-
on a motorcycle,
there
right?
is
I mean,
the
a Harley
minority
Davidson
of
makes
people
way more
that are-
noise than a four-wheeler.
There's a minority of riders that they don't care what, you know that as well, right? I mean,
Oh,
Those
absolutely.
are the ones you see now.
Those are our non-members that use the trail system, right?
That's what we learned last time, is you guys aren't responsible.
Well,
for the
again, Tim,
outcomes.
unfortunately, that was lost because 3/4 of that year was run illegally. And that one last month was run legally. So it was very hard for those people on that road to determine when that switch stopped, when it went on, right? But when you ask and you really get down to it, does having the marker on the side of the road stating 25 miles an hour or 35 miles an hour make a difference? It absolutely does.
And I also think that if you paint the damn line on the road and you say this is where the ATVs travel, okay, that would help. I mean, it's no different than.
It has started to become a little bit more of a state, you know, because the state has opened this up a little bit more, right? So there's more and more access routes happening all over the state of Maine. People who are using the systems are very familiar with that, right? So you're not seeing ATVs ride half one tire in the ditch and one tire on the road. You go up north, everybody's on the road. You're on the pavement. So people are, our group of people who ride ATVs, not even just us, but call them ATVers, right? They are more or less starting to understand that we need to protect our right? When we're chewing up the side of the road and breaking pavement up, that's not good, right? So, does anybody
So
else?
I just think you need to, let's kick the whole thing off that says, okay, we're starting this process. We've been around and around a couple of times. The DOT certainly didn't come through the way that gentleman, the night that he was here, it was going to be a simple thing. And we just say, let's start to build a thing. If we say that we're going to present this in a referendum vote to the townspeople, then you're looking at June.
Right. So the other thing I guess I would ask about that referendum question. So if that referendum question approves or disapproves, would the ordinance be better to be written that it's approved or disapproved, or would it be better that the Board of Selectmen on a yearly basis, kind of like you do with a liquor license, have the authority to discuss with the club, hey, we're going to open these roads or not open these roads? If you do it as an ordinance, does that stay, right? Until you fight it and get it out.
The ordinance would get approved until somebody came after it to beat it down, right?
Right. So is that the better route, or is it a better route to be
tell
able
me.
to see us? I'm thinking
You
from
know,
your perspective,
we
it'd be
can-
better for a year.
we
From
can
our
get-
perspective, get it voted in and say
We
yes.
get the Ouija board out and we can guess now, right?
I think the most honest way is to put it out for a vote and we take the results.
Yeah.
But you still have a petition.
What do you mean?
Yes.
Oh, to
You
go
can always
against
petition.
afterwards.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So, I mean, it could be a no vote next June and you could,
But then
Bring
that
it
puts us back another 12 months a year. If you're gonna do a vote, make it a vote that's yea or nay.
exactly.
For the whole
And that's what I'm
system.
saying.
Not a, do you feel like you wanna vote for this or have this?
Well, who was it? Somebody, was it Greenville or Greenville?
Greenville's had us.
They had 4 or 5 warrant articles. Is it okay to run ATVs on XYZ road? And then the next road, and then the next road? To me, that's like, dying a death of 1,000 cuts, right?
Well, then you get half of the town fighting the other half of the town saying, we don't want it up here, but you guys can have it down there, right?
And we're finding that the industry's changing. They're becoming side-by-sides and more family-orientated. I live on Townhouse Road, and usually when you see those families go by, they see the end of the trails closed, but for some reason, some turn, some don't. But it's the ones that are running the smaller, faster machines that are actually going to give you the trouble now, they're going to give it to you later. It's a very small percentage from what I can see on Townhouse Road.
Aren't they this close to just licensing the side-by-side for the road also?
Yeah, Reynolds now sells a version of a Mahindra side-by-side
Same with the dirt bike.
that can be on and off. Well, this is the first time that any ATV side-by-side has been labeled as an on-road, off-road vehicle. Downside of that is now they're putting 2,000 pounds on the trail, 2,000
Right,
pounds
right.
across a wooden bridge,
Like,
right?
like an old Willys or something.
Yeah, right, exactly. So, I mean, there's upside and downside to both of it. The dirt bikes definitely do have an advantage because they can, if they're an on-road, off-road, they can go wherever they want, right? And I feel like driving on the trail for a little while, on the road. So how far out would we have to go to have a public hearing?
Well, I think the sooner
Start as soon
you
as we
start,
schedule.
I think the sooner you start, the sooner we at least get done with a document that's going to be presented either.
Can we have enough public hearings to have an official vote by November?
No,
deadline
ballots
is,
got to be.
September
We
7th.
just talked about
September
that.
Oh, yeah.
September 7th. So
Language has to be set for any questions on the ballot by September 7th, so
Okay.
the realistic answer is no.
But you
we
could
you
do the
you could do a non-binding, as Tim suggested, a non-binding open question that says, would you support allowing ATVs to use some town roads for access? And you'd have to,
Yeah.
somebody's going to say, well, how many, what roads? So there has to be some definition of that.
right. So if that was
Some type of a quote in there that wasn't a binding,
But at least,
question, but it would give you an idea, but.
If you had the information and the public supported it, what would the selectmen do with that information?
Well, I think then you say, we need to get the documents in the right order. And I guess then if it was overwhelming support, for me, I would say then the selectmen would deal with the ordinance. If it's a 50-50, then I think you take the ordinance to a referendum vote.
and that's the, would you want to move forward if it was drastically weighed against it? So I mean,
That isn't a question for me. I guess that's a question to the selectmen, right? We'll play the political game. If we don't have a trail system and we lose more trails, guess what? The ATV club goes away. Now you've got a bunch of road riders riding everywhere, right? Same thing with, like, we're not going to fund the police department if we don't get our budget approved. Same deal, right?
but at least if we get a vote, we'll have an idea whether to proceed or not.
Right.
Whether you want to go through all the work of.
I don't think that it's about us.
No.
It's not about us.
Do we
Actually,
have,
about some of the local businesses. I mean, I'm a family owner. I own a family, have a family. We have 4 machines that we ride. We enjoy the outdoors. We're in North Waterboro, and we like going down to Vandy's in an evening and having something to eat, or go down to Lakeside and grab something there, or go to Merrill's and get gas. But if you shut that system down for us, or if there's no assistance, then I trailer out of town. I go someplace else where I can connect to other places and
I
enjoy
think it's important.
the outdoor.
It's an important piece of this public educational process, which is the hearings.
Absolutely.
Right?
And
to understand from Vandy, from Merrill's, from Lakeside, from Town Line Deli and the Milk Room and Woody's or whomever, how many ATVs are showing up. It's the same thing for snowmobiles, right? It's the same thing. Snowmobiles is a little easier because you don't have as much restriction on trails because everybody figures, well, there's snow on the ground.
the snowmobile club is also have their own.
Well, they get their
They have their sides of problems as well, right? I mean, they have landowners who have purchased lands, and this year coming, they've lost the section of the trail that they're going to have to fix. So
my suggestion is that we set something for one of our September meetings
okay.
as a public hearing and kick it off then. And
So the only thing that we couldn't do in September would be the 18th.
well,
Versus the 11th
ours is the
and 25th.
11th and the 25th.
I'm sorry, somebody said something.
11th and 25th is when we meet.
Okay.
So we wouldn't be looking at a strong vote for this November.
We could, but we would have to have,
Before the 7th, we'd have.
before the 7th, we would have to make a decision.
What do you guys thought about a straw vote?
Well, that is a non-binding question to people to vote, hand count the
So
ballots
did-
here.
A show of hands.
So-
So a straw vote basically would, there would be an article,
Separate
when
piece
we
of
go
paper.
vote, whether or not people,
Separate piece of paper, hand-counted ballot, not part of the regular voting process. So quite informal, but still not.
And you hear,
why wouldn't you put it on the referendum?
because it's a separate ballot. That's the state.
You could if you have it ready for September 7th, but if you don't, then
Well, the straw vote could be ready by September 7th.
it could.
And you'd hear from thousands.
I'm just saying, if you're asking for people, I'd rather do it that way than to have just it could be a separate piece of paper. I'm just saying that we want the whole town to vote on it.
Exactly.
Christine's still here.
And that would be the idea.
Right.
And for once, we'd get a good idea of just,
So basically, it wouldn't be asking for permission for any said road, it would be just asking the public of the community of Waterboro
How they
how they feel about having ATVs ride on their road. At that point, if the vote goes overwhelmingly that people want to support it, then ultimately that leaves that, I think, in the Board of Selectmen's hand to decide whether or not they're going to approve XYZ road, right? If it's 50-50, then it's going to go back to the public, again, as a referendum.
Right.
So
My biggest concern is-
There's some level of education that has to be made
Yep.
before that straw vote, because people are going, well, why do they need to use the roads? Okay? So there's a bunch of those questions that have to be answered one way or the other.
My biggest concern, I guess, is the wording on it.
Well, the wording is very simple. That the town, would you accept ATV riding on the road? Yes or no? Town road.
non-committal, one way or the other.
Yeah, and it may very well.
Basically an opinion. What's your opinion about this?
It won't be like ranked choice voting where.
Yeah.
Vote yes. Everyone say no.
Well, I'm just worried that, you know,
No,
if
I
you
think
put
there's
certain
gotta
roads
be,
right now, and
there's
there's
gotta be an
conflict.
explanation with
Right,
it, though,
right.
that says, you know, if this is voted in the affirmative, then the ATV club and the town and the board of selectmen will work towards developing an ordinance that will
Right.
control and allow, right?
If we
How
have
about if it
September
would say, not how you feel about riding on the roads, because I read that, I would think at all roads,
Well,
but I'm
it's
thinking
accepting the
specific
ordinance.
roads.
Well, I think you gotta, it's
You know
gotta
what I
be,
mean?
there's gotta be some level of education,
Well-
even for a straw man vote, because people can't go in going, well, what do they wanna do?
We could still have public hearings and
Right.
public postings, it's just that we need to get the ballot in by then.
Right.
I think
We still have
we
2
want to try
months.
to get on that ballot. I don't want to go another year.
Yeah, we
Oh, I
can't.
don't disagree.
This
Yeah.
is the quickest way, do it on the 7th.
Do it on
Yeah,
the 7th.
by the
It gives
7th, so it's in
it gives a straw vote of what the public wants to do.
Biggest problem here is that we're members, and if we get caught out riding a road that we're not supposed to be riding, we're gonna get whacked. The other guy gets a handshake or whatever, told, you can't do this. But us as members, we're the ones that are taking it hard. I mean, we all wanna ride, but we don't wanna break the law either. But we're kinda getting screwed over, basically. And we're trying to do the right thing here.
Well, ultimately, what we're trying to do is to portray the good image of what
Right.
ATV can be for the community, right? And if we get caught not doing the right thing, that's not necessarily portraying the best image, right? So,
The challenge is to show that if you do this, it is, for a lot of situations, an improvement, because what's happening now is unregulated,
correct.
Right.
and ongoing.
If we didn't go on the referendum ballot, and we were a hand vote, does the ballot have to be ready by the?
I don't think so. It's totally local.
Either way, that gives like 3 months for a couple of public hearings, information.
Right.
Before the election.
Because even if we word the ballot thing, there's still going to have to be some public hearings and awareness.
You guys have a meeting again on the 28th?
Yes.
Yes.
So why don't Gary and I talk about something between now and the 28th? And on the 28th, we'll figure out whether or not we're going to do it, how we're going to get it to the people.
Works for me.
That work?
In the November election.
In a November election. And then that still gives us basically 2 months of an advertising campaign to
Go
support.
along to get the referendum question drafted and send that down to Natalie to make sure that it's all legal.
Right, well, they would have to do that anyway,
The
so
ordinance would
the
have to go
28th
there,
would give
too.
us,
It gives you,
if you got a draft by the 28th, then
Even for an advisory vote, we need to run that by the attorney.
I would assume that, yeah, even though it's a non-binding vote, she wants to make sure that the words are, this isn't a Matt Dunlap.
It protects both sides
right,
anyway.
100%, right.
Better send her the ordinance.
So we'll do that, and then from on the 28th,
It's
we'll
not
kick
ready
off.
yet.
We'll kick off when the
Gotta have a public hearing. before you-
public hearing. Because
The ordinance essentially is written correctly. The only thing would be the acceptance of the roads. That's the only section of the ordinance is set.
we're not voting, we're
No,
not
no,
going to
I-
vote on the ordinance.
No, but I'm just clarifying what Gordon just said. And kind of Dwayne, both. The ordinance, the way that it is written, is the way that we would like the ordinance to be written. The only difference that we're talking about here is that when we first were talking about it, we had like 4 roads or 2 roads. Now we're going to go into a whole lot more detail and really kind of knock down how many of those roads that they're going to be, which would be displayed on a map, which we have all kinds of time to sell those roads to everybody. If we win overwhelmingly, then I think it's ultimately between the selectmen, and we go down through each item, right? More public hearings, whatever, right? But ultimately, it could be a vote amongst the selectmen, which now we're just going to add each one of these roads. Take away these roads, whatever. But I'm just curious if, from the town's perspective, if they want to protect themselves, do you want to revisit this every year and say we approve? XYZ roads.
What did I miss?
He's gonna get with you so that at our 28th of August meeting, we will vote yea and nay to include in a November referendum.
You guys will decide whether you want to go ahead with that.
I'm pretty sure we want to go ahead with it. I think it's just about the fact that Gary and I can work on what that wording and documentation is going to be, and then at the 28th meeting,
We can vote on it.
Well, you guys can
We're voting on the question.
you're voting on putting it on to the ballot, correct? And then the 28th still gives you guys a whole week and 3 days to get it to Natalie.
And what is our homework, since I was not here, for this document?
No homework for the document.
They've got to make sure that what's in that document is what they want.
Right. And ultimately, we're talking about section 4.
You have a question?
Yes?
Can you clarify if there's going to be a public hearing on it?
No public hearing. Gary and Todd will have to collaborate. And what will be on our agenda is voting to include a referendum ballot question on the November 6th gubernatorial election. A non-binding ballot question.
Right. Which isn't setting us up for anything other than just to get a straw poll.
Which we need to make sure that
public
everybody is clear on. It's
Yep.
a non-binding.
And also, we want to make sure it's clear that by adding these other roads is alleviating pressure on one road, Deering Ridge Road, all right? If we open up that part of town, then it gives you a loop. When they come through, they got a choice to split.
That's part
If
of
they
your
only got one
education.
way to go, it's 100 machines go that way, 100 machines are coming back. If
That's
you got
part of
100
your
machines, they get to
educational process.
Excuse me?
That's part of your educational process to push that out there to
Right,
people so
right.
they know that.
But if asked, that's the reason why we're
When you have
trying
the
to
smart
get.
shopper, I mean, you have time to do a series of ads, and I assume you have enough money for that.
Oh, yeah.
Do a full page in the smart shopper.
We won't be able to
just lay it
build
all
a
out.
bridge, but it'll be all
What's
right.
that?
I said, we won't be able to build a bridge, but it'll be all
full
right.
page in the smart shopper.
Yeah.
You can handle that. Yeah.
Yeah. You know how much a
It's
bridge
kind of a
costs?
bridge.
So are we going to change this list for the next version of this document?
Yeah, but I guess ultimately that doesn't have to be determined before the 28th. Because on the 28th, we're just determining,
No, but it's gotta be refined before people vote on the 6th of November.
correct. Absolutely.
Because they gotta know, well, how much, right?
Right. Which, those road names that I gave you are correct. What I will do is I will provide you with a map so that you can forward that GIS map to everybody here, and they can all see that as well.
You're going to color code the proposed as its own
Correct.
color? And you want me to, I'll add these bullets to this document?
Those bullets needed to be added, but like I said, Edith Huey, the Joseph's Way to Bennett Hill Road needed to be changed to Edith Huey, which if I talk to the Roberts family and she gives us permission to the single pole line, which she essentially did, but I don't have anything in writing, but that gets us to the single pole line. So we would go, Edith Huey Road would now be changed to single pole line instead of Edith Huey Road.
Okay, I will add Clarksbridge, Middle, Blueberry, and Ross Corner, and then Edith Huey probably with a question mark, and you fill in some more details for me.
Correct. Yeah, don't forget about Ross Corner Road though.
Yes, I have that down.
That makes the completion the loop.
Which Ross Conner Road, the old one or the new one?
There's only one Ross Corner Road.
Yeah, maybe in your world.
Yeah.
GPS still says I live on
Yeah,
Ross
yeah,
Road.
yeah. Not the old Middle Road, which used to be Things Mills Road.
All right, anything else that we can do for you?
No, I think that's, no, we do, so we are gonna have our Fright Night Ride again this year, October 21st, I think, which is a Saturday.
So
We would be looking for permission to do what we had done last year, I think.
we add that to the next agenda is to vote on permission for the ATV for the
Fright Night Ride.
Fright Night Ride.
Access up until
They can give us the
from 6 to 10 o'clock,
This is Saturday, it's October 20th.
Yeah, 20.
October 20th.
Yep.
And then the other thing, just a piece of information for you guys for the future. Next year, this year we were asked by Department of Conservation if we were applying for another municipal grant. I said, why should we be? Right? So I think next year More than likely, Hollis is trying to get a little bit further down the pole line. We currently go to Route 117 in Hollis now. So we will be applying for a municipal grant next year, which will probably flow for another couple of years, usually in the tune of 40 to 60 grand a year. So we're continuing to work on our end to try and, put money into the system here in the town of Waterboro and surrounding areas as well. So on that note, with them. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for
Anybody
coming.
else have anything that they want to say? Mention?
You said it all.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
We all walked out with
Yeah, I
all
was gonna say,
all
don't have
hunched
to leave.
over with bad backs because they're riding the trails.
Hopefully there are people at home.
Okay. Initial discussions of Salvation Army's offer to locate closed collection box in Waterboro.
Did they say where?
Today we have closed collection boxes at the transfer station, correct?
Yes, there are
Which
two
used to
down there.
be Planet.
Yeah.
Planet
Aid is gone.
Aid is, now it's somebody else, right?
Yeah.
We did this years ago. My suggestion would be at the dump so that they can keep track of it. When these were put out at some of the businesses, you got dirty mattresses, you got dirty diapers, you got anything that people could dump
Trash.
on the way out of town. And
There are two of these things on the ground up next to that Mennonite store too.
yes, I believe
There's
that.
two there and there's two at the dump, at the transfer station right now.
Well,
The ones at the transfer station are not Salvation Army.
Now, I don't know who owns the ones up by the other place either, but there are two of them there.
But it's great that people can donate to the Salvation Army, but my suggestion would be under lock and key at the dump so that they can't dump it off at night or going by.
Or take stuff back out again.
Yeah,
So I agree with
I-
Dwayne.
that,
But the locker,
I've seen them crawl into these
Not that I-
dumpsters and try to take the stuff out even.
yeah, it's
Because
just
the
a
kids-
regular
the kids
dumpster,
truck-
right?
So,
It's like we have up there now.
Yeah.
Well, he's offering one in this front lobby if you're interested. It's a different unit, it's a smaller unit. Obviously, it's under lock and key here, and you wouldn't have that level of contamination, I would hope.
In the front office.
Or outside this building. So, or anywhere else we want it, so I'll pass on your thoughts here.
I would put it up to the transfer station.
He offered to come on the 28th, so if you want him to come, he's happy to be here. If you want-
Well, let's find out from Clint who the other outfit is, because that's changed. And is there an issue with having both up there? Because I think Salvation Army collects more than what that other outfit is doing. That other outfit is just clothes.
the question is whether, I don't know, I don't remember when the Salvation Army came. I think it was Mondays and Fridays, but. the
Twice a
question-
week.
What, twice a week?
That's what he said.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Tuesday and Friday, or Monday and Friday, but they're gonna have to, we don't want them to have to come back
They're gonna have
to
to
get
work.
there with the dump. They'll have to work with the dump, but
Is there an issue just because of church and state here? Because the Salvation Army is a religious organization.
I don't believe that. but-
I don't.
Just thought I'd throw it out there.
Everything I believe that comes into the North Waterboro Church, every so often the Salvation Army comes and gets the extra.
Yep.
I've heard that.
Yeah, because they collect up there at the church, right?
They pick up books at the library
Okay.
too, so the church and state thing would apply to them.
All right, as long as that works, I would suggest we put it at the transfer station, and they will have to work with Clint.
Because if you put it out here, outside, you're gonna get
Truck bumpers
just,
and everything
just
else
like
in there
what you
again.
had with the recycling bins and, they do pick it up, don't get me wrong, they'll take everything that's there, but it's a mess for them as well as us.
So I'm hearing we don't need to have him here on the 28th, and he is to work with Clint.
Yep.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Item C, discuss possible vote to amend the charter to add budget default provisions. And the other issue that came up the other night was steps to establish a charter commission. So let's deal with the, and this now has been marked up. This is Natalie's
Yes.
mark. So based on what she said the other night, she thought that everything could be handled just by changing the that 212 section.
Well, there's some text in 904 also.
And I think the open issues the other night were if a budget item goes down, we would go back to, say, 80% of 50% of the previous year's budget until a second vote is taken.
Right.
That second vote being mandatory. Should that go down, and I think we've tossed a whole bunch of numbers around, but she's got 85% in here. I've given that some thought after we broke up the other night. I'm not sure why it wouldn't just be the previous year's budget, because if you debit it down from the previous year's budget by 90% or 85%, then most people would just say, why have the second vote? We're just going to vote it down, and we're going to cut the budget by 10 or 15%. When truly, what you're trying to get in that second vote is what the budget should be.
I think it really overcomplicates it.
I agree with you.
I think just go back to the previous year's budget, right?
Yeah, it's a way for them to, there's no safeguard in there for.
Right.
It's an
The
automatic
argument,
budget cut.
right, the argument on whatever piece goes down, let's say it's roads, right? Then the argument by David and company has to be, you know, I need this money because of these reasons, right? And to make that argument that the original budget that was put in, okay, maybe there's some alteration that
Too late,
can
we'll talk
happen.
tomorrow.
And if it goes back to 85%, people are gonna sit back and say, well, I guess they really didn't need the whole
Right,
thing
right,
anyway.
right. So I don't have a problem with the number that comes up in that line B, because the last thing you need somebody doing is running out and trying to spend a whole bunch of the previous year's budget, right? So if you kept them to 50%, maybe it's not 50, but you know, they can only spend a certain percent of the previous year's budget. And then the second vote would go, if that failed, it would go back to the previous year's budget.
Well, I guess I don't like the pitfall of a 50% if nothing else happens after that.
No, we'll require them that something has to happen.
Prior to a special budget referendum on the failed item.
It says if one or more, in A, it says if one or more budget items do not pass at the regular budget referendum vote, the Board of Selectmen shall hold 2 additional public hearings on the proposed revision to those items before holding a special town referendum vote. To me, that says we're going to have another referendum vote.
Yep, that's what
Yeah.
it says
Right?
to me too.
All right. You take that shall to be extended to the second part of that sentence.
Right, because that's all inclusive in that sentence, right?
And during those public hearings, it's up to the department
And the board.
and the board
Right.
to justify why that first dollar value was requested to begin with.
And item C says there shall only be one special, because if, who was it, Kenny Bunk had 2? They could have 2, but they didn't need to have 2. and it would just go back to the previous year's
It's
budget.
just beating the
To
same
me,
dead horse.
Yeah, to me, that would just say, oh, well, we'll just go back to last year's budget.
So you're going to change D to reflect the default is last year's budget.
Yeah, I
Right.
think we changed D to the prior, shall be set at the prior fiscal year's budget.
I think that's a real clean, simple, understandable way to go.
The one thing that isn't in here, we talked about the other night, was the capital items. If we want to buy a new dump truck or whatever, I don't think that should get another vote if the voters put that down.
I don't either.
And that's not covered in here, so.
And nor should
Operational
it be.
needs is
Right.
the only thing that,
And that's the language, that's the word that's not in here,
Yeah.
operational
You
budget.
gotta throw that in there somehow.
Which is what I brought
And that
up
would
with the
cover
other
your capital items.
Yeah, if A was to say if one or more operational budget items, right? You just put that one word in there. Do not pass at the regular budget referendum vote, the Board of Selectmen shall hold, right? Da-da-da-da-da-da. So if she's okay with us just injecting operational,
now, there's a question. If your leases go down, and today we lease more than we buy,
right?
that means that everything that we've leased goes back to the leaser.
Well, they're lease buys,
Right.
right? So
But-
we're really buying everything. It's just
But
a
if we don't, if you've got.
failure to fund.
You've got 450,000 or so on leased vehicles at this point that we're paying out. And you've got an ambulance, you've got fire trucks, you've got town dump truck, you've got backhoe, or 2 backhoes, excavator, some of this stuff may be paid off, but all of that is in your lease agreement.
So if that
Natalie- that goes
Natalie
down.
addressed that, saying that if we have that obligation, we have to.
You have to
have
spend that
to
money
honor.
anyways.
Yeah,
No, you don't.
She feels that you know how they used to put in the failure to fund
Yeah.
clause? She doesn't believe that that's in there anymore.
Right.
She thinks
But-
that,
If that goes down, and it went down twice,
you'd go
that
back to,
equipment can go back to the leaser.
but if it
Cat
went,
Construction or the fire companies or whatever. Now, at the same time, the equipment that the Public Works has, they've got funds enough to pay for those leases. Now, whether the fire department has money enough to pay for the lease of the truck out of their $1.5 million that is funded is another question.
yeah, but it
Out of
goes,
their budget.
but it's
But the-
protected in item D. If it goes back to the previous year's budget,
Which was already paid for.
right? The only question would be is if the lease in that particular fiscal year was higher than what the previous fiscal
Right.
year was, right? So if it goes back, say it gets defeated the second
Yeah.
time, you're gonna go back to the previous year's
Previous
budget.
year. Now, we've got a fire truck coming, which is gonna increase your, your lease.
Yeah.
We
So-
won't technically lease that, we're going to buy it, fund it, same principle.
But it's gonna be under your lease purchase.
Maybe not. I mean, when we do an outright purchase, according to Natalie's cohort there, you have the responsibility, the legal responsibility to pay that, even if it's not funded in the budget, if it's a true borrowing and a loan. With the lease, you're right, you can turn the piece of equipment back in. If you buy it,
Yeah,
you
'cause
have to make
Gorham-
that payment.
Gorham used to offer to municipalities only a lease program, right?
And they still do.
Like Natalie said, the bond bank would lose our rating at
Yeah.
the bond bank, and nobody would lend us money for anything in the future.
That's her perspective is that if you default on one of those clauses
Yeah.
that's failure to fund, you're never gonna borrow from that company again.
Couldn't the lease be owned by the department that has the equipment and have the funds transferred to them?
Well, I mean,
So
ultimately,
that's part of the
Dwayne
budget.
is absolutely right. If there was the lack of, say it got beat the second time and it went back to the previous year's, any additional funding would have to come out of the department's operational budget.
When we bought that first backhoe, that tractor came out of roads and bridges.
Right.
The roads and bridges, winter maintenance, paid the lease on that tractor. And we kept track of the hours that went onto that
Right.
tractor, and that so much an hour went for the lease of that tractor. And we paid it off 2 years in advance. And then it got to a point where
Yeah, the
we went from a 5
bookkeeping.
to a 7 year, and then somebody got losing funds.
Well, then the bookkeeping is like, you're taking money out of this pocket and put it in this pocket and.
Seeing
So-
if you could drop it on the floor.
Right. So is everybody okay with kind of this scenario?
Definitely.
So we go 50% in the first wave so that we don't get some radical, oh, I gotta spend it all. I'm not sure who would do that anyway.
So the two big changes here are under D, the 85% would go back to the prior fiscal year in its entirety. The 85% figure
Yeah,
goes
I
away.
think you say the budget, if the item fails to pass a special budget referendum vote, the budget for that item shall be set at the prior fiscal year's budget for that item.
Yep.
So you take 85% of
Out of there.
Okay. The other change in here, either an item E or something else above that exempts one-time capital items.
Yeah, I don't think we would go back to the well. A one-time capital item gets defeated, it gets defeated.
As it should. I mean, voters have to be able to have a say here. If they don't want to spend the money, we can't force them to
And
do
they
it.
don't want to see it come back again either the same year.
It's like the turf down to Ed 57, that went back to us 3-4 times.
And then the 212 stuff, she's just cleaning that up, right? Because what she didn't want to do was to take all the references to town meeting out, because someone could go out and get the signatures to go back to a town meeting. And you wouldn't want all of those references that are currently in a charter to be then out of the charter.
That's right.
So,
And I didn't ask her that question on whether or not we can do these two sections in one vote.
I would think we have to have two votes. I think you have to have section 212. Should the language in method of abolishing town meeting be changed to the following?
I'm guessing that's what she would say
And
also.
should section 905, right?
904, I think.
904 be, so section 5 be added to, so paragraph 5 and its sub-paragraphs be added to section 904, procedure to follow for the budget.
Okay.
I would think that that's what she would say, but maybe. All right.
Well, we'll get working on that now. We'll also task her with, I might draft the questions, but try and get those, or not try and get those, but get those well before the 28th so you folks can see them by email and comment back, and then maybe have a final version on the 28th so we don't need an extra meeting on September 4th.
Yeah, I would think that we could pass it on the 28th.
Yep.
Gary, you have to be prepared for somebody storming into your office saying, I thought we talked about this. The one that brought up the 85 and 50%.
Oh, yeah. Oh, well.
He was pretty vocal about that.
Yeah.
Well,
I think it's something that people can understand, and it's,
I can send it to him. That's fine.
all right, the second issue that was brought up the other night was to reestablish a charter commission. And if you go back to section 1107, which is on page 26, says amendments, modifications, and revision to this charter may be made pursuant to the applicable provisions of state law. That's what we're in the process of doing. The following question shall be put to the voters every 10 years from the effective date of the charter at the respective November election. Shall a charter commission be established for the purpose of revising the municipal charter or establishing a new charter? Voters shall indicate a yes or no vote. All right, so the real question here is, this charter was incorporated in
2012.
November 2012, right?
Mm-hmm.
It became effective on July 1st, 2013.
Yep.
We don't have to put a commission together until 2023.
That would be my feeling.
Or do we even have that option? Because it says shall be presented, it sounds like every, in 10 years.
Right. So 2012, so to me, you would ask this question in 2022.
Well, you can ask the question now if you need to, but with what we've been talking about, the two things we're looking at, we don't need a charter commission. If you want to tackle all these other things, some of the things I raised and might be floating around in your minds, that's fine. We don't have to
But
do
that doesn't mean that that's going to happen. A charter commission
True.
can start from ground zero.
Yep.
Right?
Rewrite the whole thing.
Rewrite the whole thing.
Yeah.
So
Is there a timeline for them to rewrite the thing?
it's a 2-year process because you have to have so many people vote.
Okay, so
Right.
it's
So
got
it's
to be
either gotta-
voted on in 2022, so it's effective 2023.
That's right. So
At a minimum,
Yeah.
because.
no, this says, okay, it says the following question shall be put to the voters every 10 years from the effective date of the charter.
So that's 2023.
But somewhere in the state law, it says that if a town needs it, they
Right.
can.
You can do it
You
earlier.
can do it earlier.
Yeah.
So that's why I say at a minimum,
So at a minimum, we would do it in 2020 at the presidential election, and then they would come back in 2022 with their recommendation.
it could come back as quick as a year. When we first started that, we had a year.
Yeah, but
to
you're not going to
it
get the
done,
number of votes
And we had to ask for an extension,
because you can't get the votes.
right.
It has to meet a hurdle rate
But
of.
we didn't have the time meeting
No, you didn't have
once
the
or
votes
twice.
either.
Right.
Whether it passes or fails, it has to have 30% of a gubernatorial election, whatever that number is.
I don't remember the percentage.
So I would say we'd put it off until 2020, right? Which is 2 years away, and,
Why 2020 and not 2022?
well, then the Charter Commission would come back with their, I think you could wait until 2022,
But you're talking 12 years then.
but if they came back with their recommendation in 2022, then there would be a revision or a recommended vote on after in 10 years, right? So it would be a 10-year process then.
And the other night, we talked about asking the big questions without people running for those offices. And the way this reads in plain English, I don't see you can do that. It says, the following questions shall be put to the voters every 10 years. Questions in plural. So I would say, maybe by state law, you could just ask the question without the candidates, but by our charter, it doesn't appear that you should do that. And it's 6 elected, and then you appoint 3,
Yep.
I think. It's a group of 9.
I thought we appointed.
There's some appointed by the elected
There was
officials. I think.
5 elected.
Yeah, this says 6, so I'm not sure whether,
Well, we might have changed it, but there was 5 before elected and you appointed.
yeah,
4.
you're right. The way that this says this, you may have to you may have to elect those candidates in the same
Yeah.
election, which doesn't make sense to me, but,
Because you had to run just like a selectman.
because if you had approval, you gotta have approval before you can elect anybody. So if you approved in 2020, you would elect in 2021. That would give them until November of 2022 to come to present their findings, which is almost 18 months.
Yeah.
But you would elect the Charter Commission members at the June election.
And if they went through this in 2 meetings and said, we only want to change this, this, and this, that could possibly come back to you by November.
Well, it could if
I mean, it could
Theoretically.
theoretically,
Because they could elect to revise instead of.
right.
If they agreed that everything was working and they didn't want to change but a few things, a couple meetings could do it.
So
One with the town attorney, and it would be done. But if you had a bunch of elected that want to rewrite this, then it could take 2 years to rewrite it.
So, does everybody agree that we would not present this until November of 2020?
Yes.
So, you're gonna finalize with Natalie, we'll vote on the 28th? Right?
Yeah, we're going to do nothing in terms of section 1107. We're not going to do that question.
Right.
We're going to do these other things with
Right,
her.
right,
Yes.
Okay? No old business, discuss a vote to approve the minutes of July 24th.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded, all those in favor? Opposed, abstained, so 401. I was blind in one eye and couldn't see out of the other. I still can't see out of the other. Pending decisions, I guess we can go through all of that, but you got your week's action list, right?
I got
Yes.
a couple of questions.
Yep, go.
Tax lien properties, where do we stand on, I know it's too late to follow the ordinance in the town, but where do we stand on all of that? We was talking auction, and now I guess we're not, so.
No, I'd like to do it with an auction. I think we need, it's gone on long enough. Let's have an auction this fall.
Well, the town ordinance has always said, and we've got an
Yeah, but
ordinance
it
in
changed.
there. It
You know,
did?
it doesn't have to be in August.
Okay. It always was the second week in August
Yes.
on a Saturday morning.
We changed that.
It was, okay.
And I would do it vacant property only this time around, which is
Okay.
90% of what we have.
How much property have we got that is not in Lake Arrowhead?
That
We
would
got, I mean, I know you've had a bunch that's
a
been paid.
minority,
Okay.
definitely a minority.
And 99% of this is vacant property?
I don't know, about 99. We've had good success working with the people that owe us a bunch of
I
money.
knew you had come in and said, this one paid, that one paid, and that
Yeah.
was the majority of the
Well, there's probably still somewhere between 6 and 10 out there with structures.
structures. Okay.
And then probably 50 plus or minus vacant land.
Majority in Lake Arrowhead.
Yes.
Yeah,
Doesn't mean that we shouldn't still try to move that
moved
property.
it, yeah,
But we also said before, this time we're going to contact all the abutters in writing
yeah.
and let them know. And it's up to you guys to set a minimum bid of anything, but I picked 250 the last time, plus all other, no, I didn't.
Well, the ordinance used to say that it was the minimum due,
Right.
and there's no way in hell you're gonna sell some of
And
this
that's
stuff.
why we didn't get any, we sold 3 out of 34 last time, so.
Are they still being sold as non-buildable, or was that in the past?
And when it goes to this, you don't have the
That's what
choice.
they- You got no choice.
You get a quick
If
claim
it-
deed, that's all.
It's buildable or not, it's per the ordinance, not per
two,
the deed.
the 250 or 500 went to the abutters.
Right.
And could not include a
Structure.
living structure. You could build a garage or a
But
shed.
that changes their
I
setbacks.
think they called it it's a
Dwelling.
dwelling.
I was trying to think of it.
But if the lot was big enough, you could build on it.
No,
No, not the way we
Not
sold
a
it
dwelling.
before.
they'd have to,
Not if it went to the abutters.
they could put a garage on it, but they couldn't put a.
That's
dwelling.
why Shirley
Not-
saw,
Not for 250.
So if the lot was, let's say, a 2-acre lot, you're not gonna let them
You
build
won't
on it?
find one up there.
I know, but
If
principle.
99, each lot, if you found a 2-acre lot, somebody's already combined 4 of them.
Yes.
So,
But some of those, most of those, let's see, 50, like quarter acre.
yeah,
Right.
there's very few that are half an acre.
could you take down the existing structure and build a larger structure centered on the two lots?
Yes.
Once you make that lot line go away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else?
Once you met your setbacks and stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
Right, you gotta meet.
Which aren't much up there.
So have you used an auctioneer before? I mean, I don't mind running an auction, but I'm no auctioneer,
I
so
think we've done it both ways.
I don't wanna do sealed bids again. That was terrible.
I did it one year.
I did it, I think the last time, in fact, Julie and I were the only two here, and we did it, but
Short meeting.
sometimes a professional can get you more money, but
You spend out more too, I think somebody.
the
in town-
frustrating part of that is that, the first bidder has to put so much down, the second bidder can put something down in case the first bidder doesn't close, and whatever. It becomes
I
convoluted.
would say late October, especially if you're gonna ask Julie Julie's got to be here to take the cash, but,
I would target it for that period of time.
yeah.
A Saturday morning or?
That's when we
We've
have done them in the
always
past.
yeah. Then 90% of your contractors and builders are.
We used to put all the maps up around the room
Now, why do you say none vacant lots or, and not some of these that are,
Oh, we can put the structure ones up there too. I mean,
well, the question is, there's 99%, I won't say 99, 70% of the time, these structures, the taxes will be paid on, or they'll at least come in and try to make
Well, I
some type of a agreement with
I think
you
we-
or the board. So if they get notice that that's gonna be auctioned off, and we haven't got many of them at this point, 3 or 4,
Maybe twice that.
okay? They're gonna come in and pay the taxes, or at least come in and make an arrangement, or they can come see Nancy if it's a
Well, you can do poverty.
hardship.
Yeah,
And
I
we
thi-
can-
I think you-
And we can make some type of arrangement, but if they have no intentions of paying the taxes on it,
Once it's foreclosed, the only way they get that quitclaim is to pay everything, and that's by
Right.
state statute. So
yeah.
they can pay a little bit, but once we decide to sell it, they've got to pay everything, which is the hard part.
So why don't you target October, put that in your little binder there. Anything else? Sensing none, I would entertain a motion to adjourn so that we can have our goal-setting workshop here, even though it might be abbreviated.
So moved.
Been moved,
Second.
second, all those in favor?